Milwaukee has an increasing homelessness issue.
Community is so prevalent. It's almost more important than some of the other interventions that we do.
Statistics have shown that each year the number of homeless people increases by 15%.
Taking care of each other, making sure they're safe.
They get up in an ambient temperature of below 0.
20% of the poor are children.
It's another thing the community misses, is the humanity in the folks that we serve.
It's not just a face, it's a human being.
Going onto the street, looking for individuals that may need assistance.
We are probably, any one of us, 3 months away from being poor.
In the United States today, there are an estimated 580,000 people living without a proper shelter. In Wisconsin alone, there's approximately 5,000 people living on the streets. Today, we will delve into the housing crisis in Milwaukee and the individuals affected by homelessness on a local level. Two leaders from local organizations St. Ben's Community Meal and Street Angels MKE will be in studio to discuss their efforts to provide service to the unhoused and unsheltered. Before we hear from them, we will cover some of the connotations, adjacent issues, and other outreach programs. Not only is homelessness an epidemic, it's an issue that's shrouded in negative stigmas. Most of the negative connotations stem from a lack of knowledge on the individuals at the core of the housing crisis. Addressing some of these implications are experts from the Milwaukee County Housing Services.
Stereotypes and sort of the criminalization of homelessness often perpetuates sort of the negative connotation that it gets. And really starting to understand that these folks are our community members, they're our neighbors. They want what everybody wants. They want peace, they want a place to live, they want to get reconnected to their family, to their friends, and have their dignity restored. And I think, having the community get more in touch with some of the granular levels of homelessness, I think would be really, really beneficial.
I think very often stigmas related to people experiencing homelessness are the one quick glimpse that someone may notice about an individual and doesn't really get to the heart of the whole person and the whole picture, their whole experience before coming to it. When being asked about what causes someone's homelessness, is it substance abuse, is it mental health, is it that they're lazy and quit their job? I mean, some of those are the stigmas that we hear, right? Those often, they could be a part of a person's story, but it's never the whole story. It's never as easy as identifying one thing.
The perception of using is always an interesting juxtaposition, right? So if you had an individual that we're serving who was intoxicated on a bench downtown, in downtown Milwaukee for 2 hours. Unfortunately, I would imagine, and we've seen this over the years, they're often looked at and addressed differently than, let's say, a Marquette student or a UWM student or an MATC student on a late Friday night at 1 a.m. who may be doing the same thing. And I think it's an important thing to think about because it matters. Because it matters in not only how our community thinks about the issue, but it also matters because those conversations, if they're negative, can go, affect policy in a bad way.
Stigma is just one of a myriad of issues associated with homelessness, but it is not the only one. Mental health, trauma, lack of stable and reliable quality housing are some of the others. Local shelter and meal program leaders from Repairers of the Breach and St. Benedict's discuss their involvement in the community and touch on some of these issues.
Each individual shows up as a complicated individual that has their own personal story to share. And we offer no judgment and an empathetic environment. And I strive to get to know each individual's story. First, start the day off with it's breakfast and lunch for the day. It's going to be at the night dinner and a light snack. Some members can get lockers for personal property, possessions. They get showers, can get help on a computer. We do have a free medical clinic as well. We have clothing here. On Tuesdays, art therapy, and on Wednesdays, we have an employment assistance center that helps individuals to get a job, find a job, and provide transportation.
Trust would be a big issue for those who come to seek shelter here at St. Ben's or at any of the other centers. Number one, if they have been homeless for a while, chances are that they have suffered theft, beatings. It's not infrequent that women will say that they've been sexually assaulted. So unfortunately, it's past experience that might hinder someone from coming to St. Ben's. It's very common knowledge among the homeless that many shelters are not safe. They don't offer the security that you want in a shelter program, and especially when you're housed with how many other people all told. Mental illness cannot be underestimated because that has ramifications all across the board for human life. It's that forgotten population who struggle with mental illness, and I'll throw trauma in on the tide. I think the two of them are really, really connected. If we could really address the issue of mental illness in our society, I think we would find some benefits across the board in all areas of our life, including homelessness and poverty.
Sometimes we work with individuals to build a support system to get them to see who's on their team, what kind of resources to keep them going when things get challenging and tough.
The availability of housing is one issue, and then the readiness of someone to take someone in is another whole issue as well.
Our population that we serve, sometimes they go to one possible housing situation, they get turned away, get the door slammed in their face, and they give up.
One of the real deterrents for homeless people becoming homeowners is just the rising cost of living just for an apartment, much less a house. The sad thing is the state of housing, public housing in the city of Milwaukee is in pretty sad shape. We need some more housing, we need some better housing. Heat, be it rodents, be it crime, our public housing units are in many cases not the place where you want to live. Yes, it can afford you a roof over your head, but the quality of life is really something lacking and something that our city officials really need to pay attention to as well.
It's inspiring to see local outreach do their part in the community in an attempt to combat these issues. Here with us today is Kenny Howard from St. Ben's Community Meal to tell us about what they offer with the Capuchin Community Services. Kenny, it's good to see you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your work at St. Ben's. What do you do in your role?
So I'm the site manager of St. Ben's, so I am in charge of the day-to-day operations at St. Ben's, from the community meal to our front office program, which provides showers and laundry and co-pays for our guests who are experiencing homelessness.
And tell us a little bit about the services that you all offer year-round.
So St. Ben's is definitely a year-round service. The meal program runs Sunday through Thursdays from 5:15 to 6:30. Our front office program, which offers showers and laundry and different things such as birth certificate help, eyeglasses, that usually happens on Mondays through Fridays from 1 to 4. On Fridays, we also offer a takeaway lunch, so a bag lunch for those to be able to take with them because the meal program is not open on Friday evenings.
And we know living in Wisconsin, there's a lot of unpredictable weather. Talk a little bit about the services you offer, particularly during cold weather seasons.
Certainly. We recently started partnering with the city and the county to open up what is called a warming center, where basically our guests can come in as early as 7 p.m. and they can stay all night from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Wisconsin is definitely a place where it gets cold, and we wanted our guests to be able to at least have a place to stay to get out of the cold, so that we do not continue to see the tragedies that we've been reading about winter after winter, where someone was living in a car or an abandoned building and froze to death.
And how do you just spoke of just the tragedies that come with cold weather, extreme cold weather at that, how does it impact the services you're able to offer, or do you see an increase in numbers?
We're going to always see an increase in numbers, especially during the wintertime. The meal program numbers are going to increase because there are more people who are basically experiencing, food insecurities. But during the winter particularly, our guests have to be inside because a lot of them suffer from mental illness, a lot of them have drug and alcohol addictions, and it's easier for folks to continue to cope by self-medicating, getting, using alcohol and, street drugs, but then they're not realizing it's cold and they're putting themselves in a lot of danger. So what we try to do is make sure that we are in front of that by basically offering the services that we do and being intentional to make sure our guests know that these services are available.
And what are some of the impacts that you all have seen with these services?
Well, the impact for us has been, we're now hosting almost up to 50 people, 50 men a night and 20 women. We even at some point was hosting a few families because we're seeing that families are now starting to get displaced due to lack of COVID funds or different public funding. But we're seeing a big impact because of the fact that there are folks who are really struggling out there. Things are very different now from when it was before. But our services are ramped up. We have more volunteers. We've been blessed by the financing that we've been getting, and the city and county have been great partners.
And we're talking about community, and a lot of times with homeless people, it could be shame or trauma associated with that. How do you all go about building community for those that are seeking your services?
Well, St. Ben's, number one, is a ministry of the Capuchin province of St. Joseph, priests and brothers who live in community serving a common goal of the rule of life of St. Francis. St. Francis was a person of hospitality, so that's our first mission. The moment we open the door, we offer hospitality. Our guests need to decompress. They spend most of their days walking around, being told they can't be somewhere, and as Beth Lampin and the other partners in the community knows, is a trust factor. They don't trust people because they're being told one thing and seeing something else. So we make sure that once they come in, we give folks time. We use the shower program to help folks have dignity. They don't want to talk to you and they know that you might be looking at them saying, well, you're dirty. So these programs go hand in hand to make the person feel like a decent human being. Our homeless folks are our brothers and sisters. They're somebody's son, they're somebody's daughter, they're cast away. And what we try to do at St. Ben's is make them understand that this is where you belong. You are a part of us. This is not just us being kind. We mean what we say and we're going to do what we say.
And how did you get started serving with St. Ben's? What drew you to it?
I've always been a big fan of the Capuchin Friars. I've loved the ministry that they do. Their ministry is specifically with the poor. I don't consider myself someone who is materially poor, but I consider myself someone who understands what it means to be poor in spirit. The ministry itself inspires me to grow for myself. It also inspires me to want to be able to do more. And it does bring a satisfaction to myself to know that while I'm here, this is not a career. This is actually, this is actually not a job. It's a career, but it's a ministry for me. I feel spiritually connected to the work, and it's something that I've consistently have been involved with since I was young, and I'm not that old. So I definitely have a love for this work.
And what are some ways that people can get involved if they're looking to be a help to you all or just to anyone else that's experiencing an issue of being unsheltered?
Well, number one, we do encourage people to call 211. 211, you need to get into the 211 system so that process can happen. Just keeping in mind, St. Ben's offers meals. You can come to St. Ben's from 5:15 to 6:30. The shower program is always available. We also have the St. Ben's Clinic, where if you're experiencing some forms of medical stuff, you can go there. There's nurse practitioners. But if you want to be involved, we're always looking for people to pray for us, to help, keep us in your prayers. Mostly also, we're looking for volunteers. You can go on the website, capuchincommunityservices.org, and go to the tab that says Ways to Help. Under that, you'll see ways to volunteer. And of course, with every ministry, we definitely could use monetary help to help sustain the work that we do.
Thank you so much, Kenny. This has been really enlightening. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
I'm glad. About 70,000 Milwaukee County families earn $15 per hour or less, but the county has just 30,000 rental units considered affordable for them. That excludes the fact that these affordable rental units may lack a certain quality standard. The Housing First initiative is one of the newer and inventive methods of low-income housing remediation that pulls individuals directly from the street and into reliable, safe housing. To speak to this, we met with Eric Collins-Dyke and Beth Lappin from the Milwaukee County Housing Services.
Really, our goal for our street outreach team is connect folks directly to our rent assistance programs. We often serve individuals who based on the challenges they're dealing with, may not want to go to a congregate shelter or a crowded place that would exacerbate what they're dealing with.
I would say that our success rate with individuals that we meet on the street is 100%. And I would say that with a smile because it may not be immediately 100%. It may take some time to develop rapport and to gain the person's trust that we are not just another person who they're meeting that may not actually follow through and assist.
DHHS Housing Services are responsible for homeless outreach throughout the county. We have several different rent assistance programs. We have our Milwaukee County Housing Authority, which is our Section 8 program. We have our Shelter Plus Care Rent Assistance Program, which focuses on individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness and provides them with rent assistance and vouchers to live where they'd like throughout the county.
The Housing First philosophy addresses housing as a right, not simply as something that needs to be earned or someone needs to be ready for. It allows us to focus on getting people into housing, helping address that main need of an individual, and then being able to wrap around services to help address any other additional needs. Housing First recognizes also community integration, so helping people become part of active members in their community. And so again, Housing First is not housing only, it is simply Housing First.
Folks are given tenant-based vouchers and they can go throughout the county to a landlord that we help them find to rent a private apartment. And before they move into that apartment, there's an inspection. So in our Section 8 program, there's a thorough Section 8 inspection. We have hired inspectors, that's their sole job. And for our other rent assistance programs, we have staff that are HQS certified, so they have to do housing quality standard inspections. A participant who is coming in with no income, the voucher covers your rent entirely, including utilities as well. And it's in perpetuity. It's a permanent voucher if you need it that long. Not everyone does, but if you do, you can have it for life, essentially.
It depends on what they may be eligible for. We're always considering all parts of a person. All their age may assist, whether they have a disability may assist. If they served in the military, other resources open up. And so we're always looking for the fastest path to housing for them.
So the success rate of our Housing First program in terms of folks staying housed is generally around 96%. We've been tracking it since late 2015, early 2016. And what that means is, 96% of the folks that we serve who are coming off the street or coming out of shelter or coming out of a safe haven stay housed once they're housed. Each individual or each participant of the program puts together a plan collaboratively. It's not just the case manager telling them what to do, it's a collaborative plan with the participant and the case manager on their goals on an annual basis. It could be employment, it could be reconnecting with family, it could be addressing any mental health or substance abuse needs. It could be, getting back into job training because they've been out of work for a while.
Outreach is just one of the ways that service workers provide personal care to those who need it most. Here with us today is Eva Welch and Shannon Kunish from Street Angels MKE to highlight the good that can come from street outreach. How are you doing today, Eva and Shannon?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us. So
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about Street Angels MKE and what you all do.
Sure. So Street Angels is a mobile street outreach organization. We're serving individuals in the community who are unsheltered. So 3 nights a week, 156 nights per year. We have 2 small shuttle buses that travel the county and provide hot meals for the moment, bag lunches for later, blankets, clothing, hygiene items, flashlights, whatever you could think of that you need outside to survive outside, we have on our buses. Short-term goal of the organization is to make sure people have basic needs, to make sure that people are eating and that they're staying warm if they're sleeping outside. Long-term, we're trying to connect with people, form relationships, earn trust, and guide them towards the resources that can assist them in ending their own homelessness.
Mm-hmm. And Shannon, tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Street Angels.
I actually, myself, used to be homeless. So when I was, on the streets of Milwaukee, I heard of, this outreach group called the Street Angels, and, got introduced to them, and it's blossomed ever since. So, what became, my friend became a family member, and you know, the whole organization. So now I volunteer with them and hopes to pursue more with that.
We have a friends first philosophy that we serve with, and that's basically just saying, like, more than anything, we just want to be your friend and support you. So we became somewhat of a support system for Shauna, and lo and behold, the tables have turned, and Shauna is now supporting Street Angels 2 to 3 days a week.
And what have been some of the impacts that you all see in the work that you do in the community?
You know, very often we'll just be randomly out, and we'll have people calling us from across the parking lot, and it's usually not our name, it's Hey Angel. And they'll tell us how they met us one time, and it was like a realization for them, and it changed their life. Or we have people like Shauna that we've known for 8-9 years now, and she's literally become family to us. So we see the impact on both a short-term and a long-term basis. And sometimes it's very, very profound at the difference of literally just being somebody's friend can make. We have learned that by us coming out and simply caring for people, they begin to care for themselves, and it makes the absolute world of difference for them.
How would you say with yourself and other volunteers that being able to serve the people, be in direct contact with them, has impacted maybe some of your understanding of those that are experiencing homelessness?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I first started doing this work 9 years ago, I did not know that there were people sleeping under the bridge that I drove over every single day. And that made a huge impact on me. I believe awareness is key. You know, we can't fix something that we don't know about. So it's very important that we are out and we're discussing these, you know, issues, and we're bringing people like Shauna who have that lived experience, so she can tell people what it's like. You know, I can tell you what I see, but Shauna can tell you what it's like.
Yeah, and Shauna, what have you learned? You've experienced being unsheltered, but also you're now volunteering and giving back. What have you learned with some of those?
It's an ugly world. I'll say that. Being homeless, you have to survive. So when you're in survival mode, you feel a lot of weight on your shoulders. You feel, you know, you're down. You know everything, your mind, your body, you're ready to give up. But when you have people, you know, that support you, you know, in your community, that helps. Street Angels, you know, was hope for me, and never gave up on me. It was unwavering, just consistency, and it definitely helped. So it also helped me find who I feel as though I'm meant to be, and volunteering is what I've started with, but I'm pursuing it in going to school. So, you know, in fall I'm going to start my human services degree with MATC, and hopefully pursue and go further and really just help advocate and, you know, become another person that, you know, that can just give that outreach and give that advocacy for people that need that.
Yeah, beautifully said, and congrats and good luck on all your future endeavors. Thank you for being here with me today, Eva and Shauna, and telling me more about Street Angels MKE. Seeing people who are involved in the community is truly inspiring and one of the major factors that can contribute to bettering the community. Speaking of community, one of the ways you can help is by getting involved. Being an active member of your community can look different for everyone. Whether it's volunteering, donations, or simple advocacy, it's the cumulative effort that can break down the stereotypes and bring this issue further into the light.
I enjoy volunteering at Capuchin because it's a way for me to get back to my community.
You come and you enjoy it. You could say we fall in love with it.
If I can help someone, you know, whether it's providing food, whether it's providing clothing, or whether it's providing respect and hospitality, those intangibles.
We can actually make a real impact to everyday people who are working to improve their lives here in the Milwaukee community.
When we can make a difference in the life of someone else, there's something interiorly rewarding.
Those thank yous and those appreciations really go a long way.
You enjoy it because you're meeting people that could be you or I, but who knows what circumstance or life bring them here. But we're being a part of their community, being part of their family for one evening, for 1 hour, or whatever it may be.
One-size-fits-all solution, we can better our community by taking the time to work within it. If you or someone you know is struggling with homelessness in the Milwaukee area, know that these are resources and committed and caring people dedicated to helping. Thank you to those tuning in. Hopefully you were able to take away a deeper understanding of the unsheltered today.